Hello, welcome to yet another interesting episode of the program Back to Farm. On Back to Farm, we make sure we bring to you topical issues that will attract you to actually take up farming as one of the trades that can actually bring Nigeria into food security and thereby creating a huge employment to the dwindling unemployment in Nigeria. Today on Back to Farm, the Plant Resources Department of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria recently held a comprehensive briefing on African Development Program for CAD-X Pillar 5 and CAD-X Pillar 4 in Nigeria from 2021 to 2023. In an effort to increase contribution of research and innovation to the transformation of agriculture and food security in Nigeria, CORAF has strengthened and support agricultural knowledge and innovation and partners in West Africa. The briefing also had an in-house training on the use of tool and method in assessing the climate smartness of agricultural practices, which was spearheaded by Dr. Musa and Dr. Mrs. Iheagugo Nneka. Take a look.
So I'm presenting an in-house training on the use of tools and method in assessing the climate smartness of agricultural practices and technology, to be facilitated by myself and Dr. Iheagugo. We have mentioned that earlier. Next slide, thank you. The outline. So this is what we have here. And this alone, each of these outlines are supposed to be modules on their own, modules that will take us like 2-3 hours to discuss. But just like I said, for what of time and what has been budgeted for, we'll try to take as brief as possible, but very concise. We'll be looking at understanding the phenomenon of climate change. I want to believe that as we are seated here today, we are not hearing the word climate change for the first time. We must have been familiar with climate change and know the definition and causes of climate change. So we'll be looking at the phenomenon of climate change, how it comes about, a brief history. What are those climatic variables and how do they behave? And at what point do we say we are experiencing climate change? The causes and manifestation of climate change. Is it me and you that is causing climate change? Or it is a natural problem that we are facing? If it's natural, let's know. If we are the culprits, let's know. We need to know the culprits. What is the problem? The impact. Yes, it is a problem and it's impacting on us. And you agree with me that the agriculture is a two-way thing in agriculture. Climate change is impacting on agriculture, and agriculture is also contributing to climate change. So I'm very sure we are familiar with the greenhouse gases. I want to be sure that I'm communicating to those that will not be dragging me behind. That's why we specify that we want people with background on climate change issues. So we'll be taking at climate change vulnerability assessment. The vulnerability assessment on its own has different modules, where we'll be talking about the impact chain analysis, different approach, top down, bottom, top, integrated approach according to IPCC. All these are modules on their own. And time will not permit us to take all these modules, but we will introduce them so that at least you have information on vulnerability assessment. Climate smart agriculture. Of course, what is climate smart agriculture? We'll see what climate agriculture, smart agriculture stands for. The main business of today is in this particular model, methodological approach for identifying and evaluating CSA strategies. Sorry, I mean, say it very clear. We may not be just particular outline if we don't have our computers here, because this is supposed to be training. We're supposed to come here with training kits, including our computer. So there's going to be a practical class, because I'm not to do it for you. My role is to guide you on how to assess the smartness of agricultural practices and technology. So if I'm doing it for you, it's as if I'm learning a game, or I'm just doing it for my own benefit. But you do it, you assess yourself and see which out of these practices you have identified is climate smart. So I'm sorry if we get to this point. I don't know, maybe we'll use this language. When we get to the bridge, we'll cross it, because it's actually impracticable for us to take this particular outline without having our computers here. Even it's going to be group, because I intend to group us, group 1, group 2, group 3, at least. The model one, just like I said, understanding the phenomena of climate change. Let's go. We're starting with history. We need to know the history of how it all started. In 1979, we got the news that it is not only CO2 that is the greenhouse gases available that is caused by human activity. So global warming appears for the first time in 1979. That is according to American researchers. You work with what I have here, 1975. That's when it started. So in 1988, the influence of human activity on climate change is publicly mentioned. So that is when it is established in 1988, the influence of human activity. We'll get to see these human activities as we progress. Similarly, in the same 1988, the IPCC will be coming across these words. IPCC. I'm sorry, those of you at the Zoom side, you may not be able to get what we are doing on the board here, but we will be communicating as much as we can. UNFCCC. I hope we are familiar with these words. That is why I believe that those seated here are having background knowledge on climate change. This is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This is UNFCCC. She has explained the link between these two now is that the IPCC is independent, just like she mentioned CURAF. And this is made up of about 198 member countries, including Nigeria. So these are like consultants to here. So the IPCC is funded by what? World Meteorological Organization and UNEP. So UNFCCC also fund whatever activity that IPCC will do for them. So that's a very clear differentiation between these two terms. You'll be seeing it as we progress. IPCC, UNFCCC. So I want you to get the basic before we get there. So in 1990, first IPCC climate assessment report was actually published. And since then, in every 6 to 7 years, a cycle, the IPCC comes out with new findings as far as the climate science is concerned. So it's a cycle of 6 to 7 years. Next slide. If we talk about climate change, we are actually not talking about some measurable events, but the variability is what we measure. You have the climatic variables, you have the rainfall, you have the temperature, relative humidity, evapotranspiration, etc. These are these variables you mention, you monitor, you estimate, and at the end, if you have a 30 years data and there is a significant changes in these parameters, you can now establish that what? There is climate change. So climate variability is what you measure, is what you look forward to. The climate change itself is the impact. By the time this variability changes over time, they now become climate change. So variability refers to the natural short-time climate fluctuations, just like the variables fluctuate from time to time. And we say climate change here. If you see definition, they say IPCC, UNFCCC. Please drop whatever anybody is telling you, because these are the highest authority as far as this discipline is concerned. So the IPCC say that it is any change in climate over time, whether due to natural variability or human activities. That is an acceptable definition from IPCC on climate change. So like we said, if variability persists for a much longer time, it becomes what? Change. And sometimes in my class, I like to pause to get reactions, to know that people are following with what I'm doing. Is there anybody with idea on what the greenhouse effect is all about? Have you heard of greenhouse effect before? Please let me see your hands. Greenhouse effect. You've heard of greenhouse effect. And if we give a simple demonstration, you should be able to understand what the greenhouse effect means. I will give an example. Out of the solar radiation that the Earth receives, only 50% of solar radiation reaches the Earth out of this 5,500. 20% is absorbed by the atmosphere and 30% reflected by the same layer. So what happened in the greenhouse effect, is that, for example, if you park your car in the sun outside, after, let's say, 1 hour or 2 or even 30 minutes, depending on the solar intensity, at some point, if you open the car, it will be as if you should just run away, or you leave the windows open, the doors open, or you put on the AC. What is happening is that the glass is served as a greenhouse, blocking outgoing solar radiation. That's why you find that enough heat is concentrated inside the car. So in the greenhouse effect, the greenhouse gases are actually acting as a blanket, blocking or trapping the solar radiation that is supposed to go back to space and thereby heating up the Earth's surface. So that's a very simple explanation I can give on greenhouse gas effect. You have something that has landed and it's supposed to go back in the same ratio, and there's a blanket blocking it. So that blanket is receiving this radiation. After some time, it's now heat up your... We're in module 2 already. That's a brief about the phenomena of climate change. You can read further on that, or we'll keep talking. See you.
These are my roles. Focal persons are appointed by Cora themselves, but the country sends CVs to Cora, and they pick who they want. So once Cora has picked country focal persons, this is their duty. So yours truly is only here to support our ES. So wherever you see DG, replace it with ES. For other countries, they have DG. So this is a general letter that they were sent to us, addressing issues related to CORAF and secretariats, coordinating the collection of vital national data, and transmit it to CORAF. Support CORAF's international consultants, documentary, production team, etc. in Nigeria. Follow up on correspondences that may have been sent to the NARI country. Support the ES in identifying national participants for workshop. That is why some of you may be hearing, see me coming to you, telling you, you have to go do this and that. ES says that, ES says that. That's part of my duty here. And also organize workshop in Nigeria. And also ensure collection of and transmission of financial and technical documents. What do they mean by this? Every quarter I'm supposed to write a report, quarterly report on what Nigeria has been doing to CORAF. And the last function that came in last year, December, was they have decided to bring in ASTI, which is Agricultural Science Technology Indicator Survey Analysis, to be handled by the National Focal Point for CADIP XP4. So you can see the focal persons are just errand boys. Next slide. On a lighter mood. So since we are sent on errand, I want to tell you how much we have done in Nigeria so far. Activities that has taken place in Nigeria. The project started in 2020. By October 2020, we began, sorry, it's very tiny because we've done a lot. We began signing off letter of agreement and appointment of NFP, National Focal Person. That happened in October 2020. Then Arcn began to participate in various activities, have given us the dates. We participated in the baseline survey because when a project is starting, baseline survey is done. That was done by a consultant. Like I told you, Arcn does not appoint consultants for CORAF. CORAF appoints their consultants and tell Arcn to follow up. So we followed up with a consultant that did the work for baseline survey and have given us a number of Nigerians participating in all the program activities. So we see activity, year, date, Nigerian participants, the remark if need be. We have undergone mapping of Nigerian data on climate smart agriculture initiatives, and we are looking forward to the training this afternoon on methods of actually tracing and measuring climate smartness of our agricultural activities. We have been trained on policy analysis, advocacy and resource mobilization workshop, and that happened in 2021. At this training, we got to know that FARA was the trainer, and they have a link, an app that researchers can actually share information, visit their website, and share data on this faradatainforms.org. Then we participated in another training, stakeholder resource mobilization training that wanted to write a proposal to Europe Horizon. And the institutes and our FCAs were part of that activity to package a proposal to submit to Horizon Europe Africa Core. Then we moved down. All these participated in existing knowledge management program. This is anywhere less. So when you see Arcn, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, NARIS, Arcn is stated who took part and who did not take part. This is number from 11 to 19. We are looking at all that has happened in 2020. So the other slide was on 2021. In 2022 activities, we have done all this. And these are the people, Nigerians that have participated. You see, as a focal person, we also to reach out to Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, Prime Minister of Environment, Prime Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, now Food Security, National Budget Planning. Next slide. So from 20 to 31, these are also activities. We continue from 2022 to 2023 till today. Of interest, I want to mention this, why we have in-house training today. We actually attended a training on measuring climate smartness of existing technologies, or you want to go into a new project. That Dr. Musa, the climate smarter expert in the house, will dwell more on that later after this presentation. We have also had the gender desk under CADIBEX before, and Arcn gender desk is quite well represented. In fact, she just returned last week, over the weekend, from an attendance of a meeting at Ouagadougou. And yeah, this is it. 11 to 15th, she attended the MITA, which is a marketplace for technology in agriculture. CORAF organizes annually something like a trade fair of technologies and innovations from all the NARI countries under CORAF. They come together, exhibition, share and buy and sell innovation and technology. And that's very interesting. This year's theme was gender nutrition. That's why our gender desk represented the council. We also I want you to note that just this same September, look at the date, they had a training in Ouagadougou too on monitoring evaluation and learning. Our monitoring evaluation experts here attended the Charles, and very soon as well, they all give us back to station training and seminar. Because ES has said as we go for these trainings, we come back and share. That is part of what we are doing today. Next. So I want to conclude now. I want to say that despite the challenges that the project has had from the kickoff stage, it's still moving on track. They're trying to surmount all their challenges. And so far, all the milestones they set for the years, they have been able to achieve it. Is there a challenge? Yes. Most of the focal persons, our challenge is that we are just tracking what they do. They don't allow us to implement a project in our countries. We would like to carry out trainings, we would like to carry out one of these activities in our countries, but the project is such that only CORA does what they want. They relate to us via emails, and if even they want to appoint or choose their consultant, they just choose and introduce the person to the Arcn. And Arcn needs to relate and give them information. That's our challenge. So far, so good. The project is moving on, and like ES has said, the focal person has not been fairly dealt with because no stipend has been paid to her. But all this correspondence moving everywhere, especially when it got to ASTI survey, the ASTI survey, we had to, 6 of us in the council here, we had to carry out that survey with out-of-pocket expenses because Nigeria's name has to be in the list of countries that submitted data. We pray that the challenges will be surmounted, will be listened to by Cora. I just want to leave us with some websites we can look at, visit for more information, and you can also get back to us. So I thank you for listening. Merci beaucoup. That's the language in Cora. Thank you very much.
Very importantly, you could see that the mother ministry has just been added the responsibility of ensuring food security. We now have Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. So also, if we are talking about food security, we have to take into account the changing, the dynamics we have with our agricultural production system. Of course, the major threat to our agricultural system or major threat to attaining our food security will be that we'll have to deal with the issue of climate change. Of course, the drought, the flooding, etc. Most of those disasters are actually happening in those food production bays, those areas that we rely on to feed our nation. So we need to take issues of climate smart agriculture very serious, because it is proven that it is only when we adapt, we mitigate, and we do those practices, technologies that will adapt to this changing environment, that we can assure our citizenry of food security. So taking the issue of climate change, other practices that have to do with smart agriculture very seriously, we go a long way in ensuring that our food security is guaranteed. Yes, very quickly, just when we returned from this training in Abidjan, we recommended to our executive secretary that we saw what is happening at the regional level, and it is the promotion of these smart villages. A lot of practices are done in the smart villages. They have an approach that take into account the local concern. What is it? Because we understand that agriculture is taking place in those areas in a more serious way. So adopting the issue of these smart villages will be another thing that we'll look at as a country. Right now we have the adopted villages where we practice or we scale our agricultural activities, our technologies. If we integrate them into these climate smart villages, it will help go a long way in addressing this interlinked challenge of food security and climate change. Of course, the smart village concept takes into account the climate change issue. It takes into account when to plant, how to plant, what to plant from the beginning, from land preparation down to storage, post-harvest, up to marketing. So I think promoting smart villages in Nigeria, smart village concept will help us do well in our food security issue.
Okay, all thanks goes to the executive secretary, who has been very, very supportive in all that the project requires Nigeria to do in order to key in. And because of his support, we were able to bring everybody together, and everybody played their role. And you saw that he was also here encouraging everybody to participate in briefings like this, in programs like this, so that we can gain from all the knowledge that will be shared during this kind of program. Yes, part of what we did today is a step. More will be done in future, and because we have a lot of adopted villages, we have farmer organizations as our collaborators and stakeholders in Arcn. We hope to organize more of this time around, scale it up, invite a lot of the farmer organization, and they will be participating in the next briefing. And like I told you, the project still has about a year and a few months to go. So before that happens, with CORAF's permission and the executive secretary's everly supporting us, we are going to have a larger briefing. And this time around, we will bring in beneficiaries. They will come with testimonies of what they have done. And this climate smart agriculture that is being promoted by this project, we will take it down to this grassroots. various means will be used, publication, radio, you are part of it, Arcn radio, TV will be part of this scaling up and sharing of this information to the lower and grassroots. Okay. We know that majority of our farmers are women and smallholder practitioners, and we know technologies are being generated every now and then by our research institute, the Arcn system. We know that most of the technologies are gender friendly now. We encourage the women to come out either in their numbers as a cooperative or as a group to assess these technologies that are gender friendly so as to help them in their farming activities. And we know anything you give a woman is known for productivity, fertility, increase. They will definitely lead to increase and will have the food security we are yearning for. Thank you very much.
Well, on that note, we come to the end of the program Back to Farm, where we extract the recent briefing of Plant Resources Department of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria on African Development Program for CADP X Pillar 5 and CADP X Pillar 4. Many thanks for staying with us. Bye for now.